Okay. I'm sure people are going to be filtering in now. So maybe I'll just sort of leave it for a few seconds before I begin. My apologies to everybody who's watching and wondering why I'm wearing a woolly hat, but it is frigidly cold here right now, and we've got about a foot now of snow. So all delightful parts of living in a cold front part of Europe. But thanks everybody for coming today. I am absolutely delighted to be doing this joint webinar with John Whitfield from InvestorFuse. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Jordan Fleming, and I am the CEO of smrtPhone. And this series of webinars is really to bring together and highlight our amazing CRM integrations, show everybody the CRMs we integrate with fully and completely, and to give you a bit more knowledge about why they're great and what they do that's different from other CRMs out there. And so I'm going to turn over to John to give a background and an introduction into InvestorFuse itself, and then we'll take some of your questions. So John, thank you so much for joining us today, and take it away and tell us all about InvestorFuse.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us onto this. So InvestorFuse is pretty old. Well, I don't know if that's in the grand scheme of things. We've been around for like 7 years. We were originally built on Podio. So we were, I think, maybe the first deployable CRM for Podio ever. Did some groundbreaking stuff back in the day, which was a lot of fun. But ultimately, we found out with Podio, you can't control the user interface. And, when your users are interacting with a CRM every day, you want it to be the best user interface for the vertical. So we specifically support real estate investors. So about 3 years ago, we started building our own software. And so that's what I'm going to show you here today is InvestorFuse off of Podio. And we're going to walk through it and talk about what makes it cool, what's kind of unique to it. And of course, highlight the smartphone integrations and smart data integrations that we have. So let me share my screen, make sure that this is working. Can you see my screen? Yes, thumbs up. Excellent. Cool. And then if you have any questions at any point in time as I'm going through here, put it in the Q&A. And then if I'm missing it, feel free to, you guys stop me and yell, hey, someone's got a question about this. I'm happy to interrupt my going throughs here and give you guys in the moment answering. Cool. So InvestorFuse, CRM for real estate investors. We basically start out always explaining that we are an action-based system. So what does that mean? It means that every opportunity, which is just a seller plus a property address equals an opportunity, has one action and only one action due at a single time. It's always what's the next thing that I need to do to move this deal forward. And so that is the main kind of function of our system. Is what people log in every single day for. And our action-based system is pretty cool because it guides you through the process of moving this real estate deal forward, right? So you can see here, I'm on my action screen. I've got 8 overdue, and you can see all the ones that I have. Some of these are probably a little overdue because this is a demo account. But this one here is like call attempt number 3. And so I haven't reached out to this person yet. So I'm going to give them a call. And I have the smartphone extension installed on my browser here. So you can see right here the phone number. It's got the smartphone icon. If I click on this, I won't because I don't know whose number this is. It will start dialing. And it will start dialing up in here in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And as I'm connecting to them, either they get answer or they don't, I will then answer the questions that this action-based system has. So I got a hold of them or I could not reach them. And depending upon what I choose here, it sets the next best recommended action. So if I got a hold of them, it brings up information about the contact, about the opportunity, and I fill out those details. Now, if I come back and say I reach them, it fast forwards me and says, all right, the next thing you need to do is call type number 4, and you should be doing that tomorrow. So it guides you and your team through whatever kind of progression you are of the deal. And that could be from trying to reach them for the first time to appointments to making an offer, following up on that offer, and then ultimately getting a deal under contract. So it guides everybody through. And that is one of the things that people love about this system. When we were back on Podio, we did have tasks in there, but nobody used them. Everybody wanted to click the next action button. And what we found is that people would get just hundreds of leads in the system and they didn't know, what should I do today? What is it that I need to take action on? What is it that I can do to move deals forward? So when we set out to build this off of Podio, the main thing that we focused on first was building an action-based system to help all these deals progress forward. So is this a complement to ROI Sift or an alternative? That's a great question. Should I answer these in the moment? Is that okay? All right, cool.
Up to you on your flow, mate.
All right, cool. I'm going to save that one for the end because it doesn't quite relate to the features I'm talking about here, but I have a great answer for you on that. So stick around. The spiel won't be long, I promise. All right. So what else is cool about InvestorFuse? It works really great with teams. And that is, after we built the action-based system, that's what we've really been focused on for the last 2 years, is how to make this a tool for teams. And one of the biggest things that we have for that is called groups. So you can see up here at the very top of my opportunity list, again, opportunity, seller, posted property address, are all of these groups. Groups are just a way to organize opportunities. So you can do it based off of the kind of status it's in. Like you see, I've got uncontacted here and qualified. You can do it by the type of team member. So I've got cleaners here and follow-up specialists and closers. Or you could do it by market. Organized to your heart's content. You can make, depending upon your level of InvestorFuse, I think the limit is 2 groups on the pro level or unlimited in the premium level. You can make as many of these as you want and organize your leads how you want. Now, the cool thing about groups is it gives you permissions into seeing opportunities. So I add people to these groups. If they are not in a group, then they cannot see those leads. Big deal with inside the real estate investing world is how to protect your leads, make sure that maybe you hire somebody new, you're not quite sure who they are yet. You don't know if you can trust them with your thousands of leads that you've spent money on. And so you want to keep them kind of restricted down. You can do that inside InvestorFuse. So not only do we have the groups level of access, but we also have what's called a restricted user. Restricted users can only see leads that they are assigned to or that are unassigned. And so that's one of the cool things here about groups is that when I come into a group, I see at the very top, I've got 2 that are not owned. That means somebody is not following up with them. And you can see it up here. It lists it inside the list. So there's 2 leads here that need to be taken by somebody. And then I've got 8 owned. So if you're a restricted user, you'll only see the not owned and then the things assigned to you. So when I click into this opportunity, I can come in here and I see take ownership. I take that. It's going to put it into me, assign me as the opportunity owner, and assign me as the action owner. And then I'll use all the features that I have in here for this opportunity, moving the action-based system forward. We've got all of our property details fields here, and you can build custom property fields for different types. So like a mobile home versus a single family home, different pieces of information you want to record, that can all be in there. You've got your activity and communication log. So everything that's happened to this lead will all be there. So I can review this information. If somebody worked on the lead before me, I'd be able to see everything that they've done. I could see their notes if they had any notes. And then any kind of file attachments, links, all of that will be in here, as well as the timeline. So one of the cool things is we track what happens to the lead and through the progress. So you can see here that it's got a lead score of 23, which takes like 5 different factors of the opportunity here and puts it into a lead score of 0 to 50. And then it will tell you when the last touch was, how many touches in total, when was it created, its speed to lead, its last inbound, and then qualified to appointment, offer, contract, transaction, close is all going to be there. So you can get a good overview. So the touches is anything that you're doing with a lead. So if I complete an action, that's going to count as a touch, but it also includes all smartphone activity. So all phone calls and texts will count as touches automatically. One of the cool things too about when you integrate smartphone into this opportunity, I'm going to switch to a different team where I have smartphone integrated, is we have this unique little area pop up on every opportunity that just shows smartphone details. So it's going to show your number of inbound calls, your number of outbound calls, calls greater than a minute, and then calls greater than 5 minutes, and total talk time. So as soon as there's any kind of call activity to this opportunity, regardless of team member, you can see that summed up here on this opportunity. And so as I'm going through, I'm like, okay, we've barely talked to this person, haven't really tried to reach out to them. I'm going to make this a priority and call them as many times as I can. All that's going to show there. And then you'll see all of the smartphone activity also will populate inside the activity and communication log. Now, we take this kind of calling functionality to the next level, and we put that into team KPIs. So every user gets this mini dashboard that they can expand across their screen, which shows them what are you doing today inside of the system, right? And if you set like KPIs for your team and you're like, hey, I expect you to be on the phone for an hour a day. Okay, open up this and you can see my total talk time. I don't have any yet because I haven't tracked any today, but it would show there and people could just use this all day long. They open up, okay, how many actions have I completed? How many ops have I touched? How many calls have I made? What's my total talk time been? To make sure that I'm hitting those KPIs that you, the business owner, are wanting to do. And the cool thing is that we sum that up into a dashboard. So we have what's called an employee scorecard inside of our dashboard, and our dashboard is brand new as of like 3 weeks ago. And inside the employee scorecard is every KPI you could possibly imagine for your team, including all of your calling activities. So you'd be able to see here on a daily, weekly, monthly. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to go to a yearly level, you could do that. It would take a while to populate that dashboard. But all of the stats that you want to have as a business owner to talk to your team about their performance is all inside the employee scorecard. And then they themselves get to look at it in their little my dashboard pop out here. Our actual dashboard is pretty sweet. It gives you information on your actions, overdue, due today, your opportunities, where they are in unqualified or qualified, and then groups. So we talked about that. You can see different stats per group, which is really neat, and then per campaign. So our campaigns are pretty extensive. So we track everything through campaigns that you create, right? And basically, a campaign is an integration point, and our team integrates everything for you. When you sign up for InvestorFuse, you just say, hey, I use these, I get leads in these 5 places. We'll go ahead and integrate all of that for you. And you put them into, well, we put them into separate campaigns for you. And so you'll see every lead, where did that lead come from? And then you can come in here and get specific scorecard and insights for those campaigns. On different time levels. Again, KPIs like you saw for the employees, we also have for the campaign. So is my PPC campaign doing better than my direct mail versus my bandit signs, so on and so forth. So a lot of great information generates from this, and there's a lot of data. So our scorecard does take a little bit of time to generate for the campaigns, but it's pretty sweet. And you can also go into a specific campaign, and there's a whole dashboard just for that campaign and everything that's happening to it. And we do, for our premium level, sum up campaigns into channels. So if you are running, let's say, pay-per-click, and you've got 4 Google Ads campaigns, you want to track those 4 campaigns uniquely, you can sum those up into a PPC channel and see the summed up stats there, which is great for some of our higher end real estate investors. All right. So follow-up. I want to talk about follow-up. So we have automated sequences inside of InvestorFuse. I don't want to say I invented them in Podio. That may be true or not. I'm not sure. But follow-up sequences, I know what I'm talking about. So they're pretty fancy here in InvestorFuse, even more fancy than what we were able to build inside of Podio. And you can send texts through smartphone. You can send direct mail, send emails. We even have webhooks in it. So you can do anything you want on a scheduled basis of following up with sellers. But as great as sequences are, I always tell people, wait to use those until you get to the point where you have exhausted all of your manual options. And that is manually dialing and calling people and texting people. And so what we did with smartphone and smart dialer is we integrated into the smart dialer solution so that you can push all of your overdue actions and due to-day actions into a smart dialer campaign, dial that campaign, and then based off of the results that you have inside of smart dialer, it automatically come back to InvestorFuse and update the actions. So we have settings in here. Let me go switch to this team. We have settings in here called dialer results. And it basically says, if the current action is call a new lead and I have a successful result inside of smart dialer, then I want to do nothing. And that do nothing basically means is I'm on the phone with them, so I'm going to manually come into this opportunity and set the next action. But if it's an unsuccessful result, I'm going to go ahead and have that automatically complete call new lead and set call attempt number 2. And I can also set up a smartphone text to go out based off of that result that I have of not connecting with this person via the dialer. It's really easy. It's very powerful to do. You just set up a new smart dialer campaign. I can come in here and sync my leads. It will bring in everything that's overdue and due today. And then just, oh, I got logged out. Secure connection. All right. And then I sync them and I just can start dialing and it will push all of those dial results back into InvestorFuse. People love this. It has taken the amount of leads that they can follow up every day with and increased it by 4 times. So if they're touching this 4 times as many leads in a day by using this feature. And it's really, really helped with the workflow. So we've got automated follow-up, but we've also made your manual follow-up a lot faster, a lot more efficient using smart dialer as well. Cool. I only have a couple of other things I wanted to touch on, and then we'll jump into the questions. And if you guys run out of questions, I can talk about more things. Don't worry. We've got a lot of extra kind of things going on in here, but one thing I want to talk about is resurfacing and dead reasons. So this is one of our favorite features. So you have the ability to go in and set up dead reasons. And so that's like, I go into an opportunity, I call them and they're like, you know what, I'm not interested in selling right now. And so I can put in detailed reasons and I could say not interested right now. And so I mark that as dead, right? Because you want yourself and your team to be focused on calling the opportunities that you could progress forward today, this week, maybe this month. That's even kind of stretching it, but you need to be focused on what is possible for me to take action on today. So by marking things as dead, they get out of your pipeline so that you can focus on the things that you can actually move forward. But just because they're not interested today doesn't mean that they won't be in 6 months. These people have pain. That's why they're in your CRM. You've connected with them. You've had a conversation. So you want to make sure that you don't let that fall through the cracks forever. So you use resurfacing rules and you say, if this person said that they're not interested, you know what? I want to bring that back in 90 days. And so resurfacing rules watch for when an opportunity is marked as dead, and then they follow the rules and they say, okay, within 90 days, we're going to bring this back to life, sign it as essentially almost a new lead, but with all of the old history there. And now somebody can follow up again. So you're not letting these leads fall through the cracks. You're continuing to follow up them, but based off of the timeline of what that seller has said, what your team has determined from them, and the rules that you've set up inside the system. And the cool thing is you can kind of bring this leads back differently. So there's a role called follow-up specialist that a lot of real estate investing companies use. It's one person whose job is just to follow up on these long-term leads. And so they resurface these leads into a follow-up specialist group, and that's where that person lives out of. Everything comes in unassigned into the group. And then people go into that group. This follow-up specialist goes in there, takes the leads that they can, put it onto their plate, plugs them into smart dialer, dials them, and everything is hunky-dory. And they start to generate business from this. And this is a feature that people use constantly and constantly get deals from. Because again, they are in your CRM for some reason, mostly because they have pain. And we do have dead reasons that you don't resurface for those that are like, take me off your list, never call me again, let's not get in any legal trouble. Those stay dead. But you use the resurfacing rules for the people that maybe aren't ready right now, but maybe experiencing more pain, maybe experiencing the same pain, but ready to make a decision in the future. So a really great feature to keep your pipeline clean and organized as well. And make sure you're focused on moving deals forward today. All right, let's take a little look-see here at the Q&A. So if you got any questions so far, plug them in there, and I will answer them, and we'll go from there. All right, so is this a complement to REI Sift or an alternative? I'd say somewhere in between. So REI Sift started out as a data organizer, so the ability to build prospecting lists and to really dial in. And instead of saying, generating a list of 10,000 people you're going to send to direct mail. It's like, here's 600 people to really target and dial. They then added on a CRM component into their system for you to track those leads and the follow-up progression. So we have a lot of people that use RAI Sift, and what they do is they use that to generate a list, they prospect that list, and then at the point in time when that person from the RAI Sift raises their hand and says, I am ready, I do have a problem, I do have some pain, what are your options? They then push those leads into InvestorFuse. Because we're CRM and have been for 4+ years as it looks today. And so we track deals and transactions. I didn't even talk about transactions management, but that's another piece of our system. A lot, I don't want to say better, it's all qualitative, but more extensively than our ISIF might. And so we have people using both. So it's not quite a compliment. It can be a compliment. It's not quite an alternative. Somewhere in between would be my answer there. On the channel.
I just let me jump in just before we go to the next question. And it's I suppose it's kind of related to the RAI Sift question, or not really. But when you were showing the smart dialer and you're talking about some of the smartphone integration, one of the things that popped into my mind was it's a great example of actually, because we uniquely integrate with our CRMs like yourself, we are able to design the integration with you to work within your system. And that's something that I think becomes an even more powerful proposition, not just a smartphone proposition, but an like as a joint power there, because of the fact that, you know, as users use both InvestorFuse and smartphone, smart dialer, we learn new behaviors and we adjust things to work better with the system. And I think that's been a really powerful part of what makes InvestorFuse sing with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, you know, when we started our partnership together, I got really excited and have been since. You know, we've long integrated with CallRail forever. Back in the Podio days, that was the solution that people were really utilizing. And, you know, I can't change, like, CallRail's not going to change anything for me. Like, I could try to contact them and, you know, knock on their door and they'd be like, I'm sorry, like, we're a big software. You know, what's unique with smartphone and working with you guys and building something together is like, we get to design things together, change things in each person's system so that the customer has the best solution. And that's hard to find when you have integrations out there. A lot of things are like boilerplate. It's like, here's our API, go ahead and just work out of this and see what you can do. You know, it may not be perfect, but you can integrate with us. Working with smartphone, it's, you know, they're willing to, you know, within smart dialer kind of change some of the functionality there so that we can interact with it in a meaningful way for our customers. It's been great.
Do you want to get to some of the questions? And then I've got a few follow-up questions I'll take after you've given to the folks who are asking.
All right, Lee just asked how to set up channels. So the way to set up channels is you come into channels. You have to be a premium member to have channels. You can create a channel up here in the top right-hand corner. So I could type in PPC. I won't mess this demo space up for my team, but you just create one there. And then you go into a campaign and attach that channel to it. That's it. So click here and add to a channel. And you're done. And then once I add to a channel, then the only other option there would be to remove to a channel. Lee asks, is it similar to MTU tracking? What's MTU tracking? I know what UTM tracking is.
I just invited Lee to come on. Lee, if you want to unmute, you can clarify.
Hey guys, thanks Ellen.
Yeah.
Hey Lee.
Good, how's everybody doing today?
Doing well, yep.
Doing good. All right, so MTU tracking is, because you mentioned that you can do it if you're running your PPC, you can run in and you can actually tag your individual ads. That's what MTU is. It tells you what ad the lead came from specifically on your PPC, not what campaign, but if it came from this ad and this time. So it's a more granular tracking. You actually set it up, you personally set it up for Nick Perry.
I sure did.
Yes. So that's MTU track. That what you set up to track his Google track, that's called MTU. When I signed on with you guys, I asked Nick actually wanted me because I'm in Nick's 8-figure cartel.
Yeah.
Nick had asked me to get it all set up, but Mike had spoke to you because I use the InvestorFuse landing page. It's not a WordPress. So
Investor Lift.
Sorry, Investor Lift landing page.
Yeah.
You guys can't do that.
Correct. That's the unfortunate part about Investor Lift. Yeah, they don't let us push like integrate any way where we can track. So maybe it's called I do UTM tracking. So that's what like I've set up with Nick Perry. So all of his ads have UTM on them. And then he has a WordPress site, and I installed a plugin that we do for some of his clients that brings down the UTM parameters. And then yes, from there we can set up conditional logic that says push this into this certain campaign. We don't get super granular with the campaigns, tracking specifically different ads. We just do the campaign level for Nick, but all of this is exportable to Excel spreadsheets, and they can run more detailed analysis on, okay, which ads convert better to different closings with the UTM parameters that we bring into the property details.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think when you mentioned the channels, when you said you could track individual campaigns in your PPC, that's what I was thinking this was more related to.
So the channels is brand new. It only came out about 3-4 weeks ago. And as a result of working with Nick Perry and some of his other clients and people wanting to have more granular, like this campaign is tracked certainly, but I want to then see all of my PPC summed up. So that's why we brought in channels.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. But again, with the Investor Lift landing page, it's finding difficult to do that.
Yes. Yes, it is. There's unfortunately no way around that. Cool. We've tried.
Cool. Very cool. Thanks, John.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right. Somebody asked you, will you have a mobile version coming up? So we do try to mobile optimize, and we have been completely reworking our UI. And as we go through the new UI, we are making it mobile optimized at the same time. Now, an actual mobile app is one of our huge 2024 goals. So a native mobile app will be on our horizon here in 2024. We haven't honestly focused on it too much. COVID was nice to us in the fact that most people gave off in-person appointments and on-the-go communication, but that's coming back, and we're definitely aware that that is a thing and are responding to that, so that a mobile app will be happening. But the great thing is if you use smartphone and InvestorFuse, smartphone has a wonderful mobile app, and you can communicate with your sellers there, and as you text with your sellers inside of smartphone, it will show up inside of the activity and communication log inside of your InvestorFuse opportunities. So a great compliment there. But yeah, we will be building a mobile app that specifically focuses on the on-the-go functions that you need for InvestorFuse. It will not be 100% copy of what you can do on the desktop, but it will be focused on, what is it that you want to do on the go. Michael asked, do you have access to all of this now? Okay, so I think Michael was asking, maybe two things, but asking what I'm showing here inside of InvestorFuse, if you have to have a certain level of membership. Yes, some of the features that I'm showing are on our different levels like Pro and Premium. If you go to InvestorFuse.com and you go to the pricing page, you can see what different things that you have. So for example, like channels, that's a premium only. Groups is restricted to Pro and Premium. And so there are certain features that are restricted to different plans. And then maybe the other side of that question is just the replay of this. So maybe if where might they find the replay after this?
Oh, it's going to be emailed.
Cool.
The replay would be emailed. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Michael has another question, and I see that his name is here. So Michael, if you want to unmute, feel free to. When you're using autodialer to go through actions for the day, are you using multiple DIDs or just the one you have for smartphone? Is DID a technical term? I'm not aware.
Phone number. It's essentially a phone number.
All right, cool. So, great question. We did a webinar with on our side at InvestorFuse with one of our customers. So when we first released the Smart Dialer feature, and he gave some great tips. And you can actually find that webinar even if you go to our main website and you go through to the Smart Dialer connection, it's right there. And there's clips from it. But he was talking about how many phone numbers that you use when you're doing the smart dialer campaign. So he likes, I think it was somewhere between 10 to 20 phone calls per number per day. So if if one of his follow-up specialists comes in and syncs all of their overdue and due date actions into smart dialer, and they have 40 leads to call, then they'll make sure that they have 2 phone numbers inside of that smart dialer campaign. And then he would always try to rest a number, like give a day's break in between. So this feature, this smart dialer feature, works really great for those leads that you haven't connected with or on the long-term follow-up. If you're actively engaged in talking about offers with somebody, I don't recommend using the smart dialer campaign for that. Do one-off calling for that, to make sure that you're calling them with a phone number that they're going to be used to seeing and will pick up on. But so the recommendation I usually give for people is go into your InvestorFuse, look at the actions that you have overdue in your day, take care of all the important ones, and then what's left, the long-term follow-up, the uncontacted, sync those into smart dialer and dial those. And then you can kind of use the rule to attach as many phone numbers as you need. So you're hitting somewhere around 10 to 20 phone calls per number per day. Michael, do you have any other questions to follow up? I know you're up here, so if you want to unmute and ask any more questions, feel free. Yes, you said yes in the Q&A. You're actually on here as a panelist, so you can unmute, Michael.
Bloody Zoom.
I can't unmute. Oh, no.
Oh, I tried.
Oh, there he is. You're unmuted. Okay.
All right,
don't think we're gonna get
going.
Michael.
All right, I'm gonna keep going, Michael. If you figure it out, either type a message and I'll answer it, or go ahead and just start talking. Somebody asked, what do you do on the other side, specifically dispositions? We do not do dispositions. Key thing, we do transactions management. We have not gotten into dispositions. That might be something for later in 2024. There are other platforms out there that do a phenomenal job at dispositions that we don't necessarily need to compete with. So we specifically deal with transactions management, which is the like, I just got a deal on the contract and I've got 50 things I have to do for that. How do I manage that? So we let you come in and create multiple transaction types. So you can do different processes for like wholesaling, novations, fix and flip, however it is your exit strategy. You can build custom kind of statuses and tasks around all of that and track it all inside of our transaction side. We also have a unique page for transactions management where you see all the tasks, the activity log, marketing price, projected profit. You can associate contacts, interested buyers, things like that. It's a very detailed system, and this actually just got enhanced and was released 2 days ago. So if you haven't logged into InvestorFuse and looked at your transaction side, it looks different now. Go check it out. What about buyer section? So Lee, we do have the ability to have contacts in here, so you can bring in buyers as a contact. We don't have any way to track the side of like marketing to buyers, validating buyers, and then you can attach them to deals, but that's kind of the extent of all that we have is going in the transaction side and attaching buyers. None of the buyer marketing or validating side of things. Louis asked the same question. Like I said, you can add buyers, attach them to transactions, but that's the extent of what we have. We do want to eventually take our action-based system and our sequences and attach it to the buyer side, but that all takes time. But we'll get there one day. And that was the question you asked. Look at us, Lee. We're on the same wavelength. Look at us go. Louis, you asked, when is e-signature going to be built into the system? So we do currently integrate with e-signature via FormStack and other intermediate software to enable you to send out contracts and bring them back into InvestorFuse, but it requires that you purchase other products. We are currently working on this right now. So we are integrating with DocuSign's new API for SaaS software. It's new to us. We built our current contracts like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and it like 6 months later, DocuSign came out with a new API. So we're now integrating with that. So you will have built-in e-signature in a very native friendly way without any additional cost here very shortly. Look for it in January.
Well, I'm gonna jump in now.
Let's do it.
I'm taking it back over for a bit because I got a couple questions or little things, little just things I want to pop in while other people maybe can pile in more questions. One thing I get, as you know, John, I built CRMs for many years as well, and so I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly around onboarding and transitioning into a new CRM. And that's always something that is difficult. And I wondered, can you speak a little to the sort of what it's like to change over into InvestorFuse, what processes or what structure you guys have built for that, and maybe around both staff, because of course your staff have to learn new things, and also data. How do I move data into you if I'm transferring from another system?
Great question. Yeah, I honestly think that is one of the reasons most people stay with an outdated system, is they're just so scared to migrate. And I get that fear. It's hard. We've done it personally for our own sales systems here at InvestorFuse. It's not fun. And so with that awareness of what it's like to migrate to a new system, we've tried to make that as simple as possible. So every InvestorFuse customer, when they sign up, gets a one-on-one meeting with our team. So, and not only that, but you get 2 of them at least. And so in those calls, we go over where is your data, how do you want it to move over, best practices for moving data, and then not only that, but we do most of it for you. So we actually built an extensive importing system. It was like a fun task our devs took on just for fun. On the weekends, they wanted to build a better import system. And it is crazy how cool it works. Like I said, we do the import for you, but it makes it so easy. You could just export wherever you have the data, and our new fancy import system can match it up, put things the right way, and bring it into InvestorFuse. It's really cool. And as well, like our team walks you through the basics of InvestorFuse, so you have a great idea to how to start. But we have a wonderful knowledge base. Our support staff, just like the smartphone team, is constantly there to answer your questions. So if you're used to the smartphone support results of them responding quickly, we have the same. And then we'll jump on one-on-one training with anybody if they need it as they're using the system. But it's interesting, like we've done I feel like such a good job of building a system that's easy to learn. Like when we had our Podio system, I remember talking to clients and they're like, yeah, I brought a new employee on, and 3 months in, they're finally feeling confident of how to use Podio. And that's because like you had to memorize like a help manual about where things were in the system, like what buttons to push. And now, since being off of Podio and building this system, people are like, yeah, my new employees pick it up in a couple of days. It's just that easy to pick up, that's simple for people to use, and directs them to do what they're supposed to using the action-based system. So people love coming into InvestorFuse. Let's phrase it that way.
I have one more question before we pop back over, because I see there's a couple more questions. You showed a bit, obviously in your dashboard, and you showed how you can group things and see, have that kind of oversight. One of the questions I get all the time is around kind of management oversight, not just about performance, but can you give a little bit more detail about, if I've got a team of 7 or 8 people and maybe a VA team that's offshore, that always is going to need a certain level of hierarchy to effectively manage and control and lock down. Can you speak a little bit more about how InvestorFuse can work for the team as it grows, and how maybe you guys have tools to make that easier?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first part is groups. So if you're to a team size of like 7, you should absolutely be on our higher price plans, where you get these features like groups, because you can start to break up your leads and restrict access to your leads. So I can come into my groups, and let's go into my groups here, and I can say, I want, this person to be in this group, and maybe I don't want them to be in the other group. So you can start to give restrictions that way, right? And then we also have inside of our where you add users in, the ability to kind of change what role they are. So we've got managers, which have access to everything, agents, which don't see any of your channels or campaigns, your transactions, or your sequences. And they just can interact with the leads. And then you can further restrict that agent down so that they can only see the leads that they can take and put onto their plate, or that they are already assigned to using our very fancy round robins. So this system works so great of like expanding up as you grow, and the features match up to what it is that I need to be able to do to control my data and make sure that people have access to the right things. We also have an advanced thing I won't get into here, but a thing called roles, where you can add even further permissions onto certain things, like stuff they can and can't do based off of these roles. This is something that we help people set up inside of the onboarding that I was talking about. But the other part to that is like, how do I actually manage people inside the system? So that is definitely why we brought in the employee scorecard. The thing I don't have in the employee scorecard, and something I want to be able to put in the future, is to be able to say, this is your goal. This is your daily goal, or even work it backwards, say this is your monthly goal, and it divides it out into days. And you work towards that, because that's ultimately what I recommend for people is every role should have, like, just go to the employee scorecard and say, okay, this is what I expect of you. You should be getting, 10 contacts per day. That's really low. 30 contacts per day. You should be touching 70 opportunities per day. Your talk time should be an hour and a half. If they clearly know what they're supposed to do and what you're expecting of them, and that you will talk to them about that if they haven't hit that goal, and review this in daily calls, then you will get results, because people are logging into the system, they're opening up their little dashboard, and they're like, all right, I gotta get to an hour and a half talk time. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep pounding, because that's what's expected of me. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we're all gonna jump on a meeting, and my manager's gonna say, hey, you got a total talk time of 45 minutes yesterday. Can you explain to me why? So that is like the easiest thing that I can give as a recommendation for people, is hold them accountable, set KPIs and hold them accountable. And one day I will give you the ability to put those goals inside of here, and it will track easier, but you can easily do it manually as well. Cool. Anything else there, John?
No, I'm good.
All right. We'll jump back to the list of questions that came in. So somebody said, I'm jumped on a little late. Are there pre-built sequences? Yes. So we do install, I think it's like 4 or 5 sequences when you sign up for InvestorFuse. However, I recommend that everybody edits them. The worst thing that you could possibly do is start a sequence on somebody and they're getting the same messages from somebody else. So always edit your sequences for your style, for your business name. And you don't have to get crazy with editing them. Just go into each message and change them a little bit, add in details about you. That's always important to customize the sequences. And the cool thing about our sequences is that you can build one. Let me see if I can find one. Actually, let me go to my demo team, not my QA team. So it's refresh. All right, here we go. So like offer too low. So the cool thing, this doesn't have anything in it. Offer declined. Anyways, when you build a sequence based off a certain specific thing like offer declined, what you can do is you can clone or duplicate these sequences and then start to add in seller reasons, right? So offer declined, but probate, offer declined, but moving out of state, offer declined, whatever, divorce. And so you can have messages related to, hey, I know that you said no to us, but wanted to make sure that, we were still here as an option while you're going through this divorce process, right? So the more contextually relevant you can make your automated sequences to the seller's situation, and then the reason why you're starting the sequence, so like offer decline, no contact, whatever it might be, offer too low, no appointment, all that fun stuff, the seller will be more likely to respond to you. So that's why we put in this duplicate features, because you can write a sequence for a reason, and then add in language for specific seller situations.
I'll also add, John, sorry, just to complement that answer. From a compliance point of view, personalizing is also hugely important, because
Yes.
if you start blasting out text messages, sending out text messages that are just the same message all the time,
Yep.
that is going to be a red flag to carriers, and that which is very likely to get scrutiny on your account. So that's also it's really, really important that your sequences don't become just these sort of blasting out elements. They should be relationship sequences, not just throw it at the wall sequences, because that is a pretty big compliance no.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly something that's changing rapidly for people. And I mean, I've always told them, like, when I log into your team and I look at your sequences, I shouldn't see 3 sequences. I should see 20, 30, so they can be as specific and unique as possible. And so you're not always just sending the same one. And that's also why we have tokens inside of here, so that you can drop in unique pieces of information from the opportunity into the messages. So yeah, I totally agree with you on the compliance idea there. Lee asked, can you run sequences while keeping the call follow-up in place? You can put in add a step to this sequence, and it can be a task. And so that task can be call. So that's the best way to do it right now. We are going to be introducing concurrent sequences, probably in Q1 of next year, which is what you're more specifically asking for, but there's absolutely a way to do it right now using tasks. And tasks, just for context, we have actions, right? Actions are always the next most important thing that you have to do on an opportunity. We also have tasks as well in that view. And tasks can be things that maybe I need to get done before the next most important thing. Like, I'm going on an appointment on Thursday, but on Tuesday, I want to prepare a packet to bring with me. So I'd set a task for Tuesday, while the next most important thing I have to do, which is go on that appointment, is the action. Louis asked, can you show us how to add buyers to a transaction? Absolutely. So you go into a transaction, and let me get to one here. The way we do it is by associating contacts. So you can add a contact here, and so I can create a brand new contact, or I can find an existing one inside of the system. So if I find one, I can search. There I am. And then I get to choose what kind of category this relates to. So this is a demo team, so it has too many categories. But ultimately, you'd have realtor, buyer, seller, and then contractor, any kind of description, attorney, if you're doing probate kind of deals. And you choose how this contact relates to this transaction. And then you'll see everybody kind of grouped up into these categories for each transaction. You can make as many categories as you want. So what a lot of people will do is they'll do like interested buyer as a category, and they'll put anybody that, you know, came to a showing, that called in, that asked for information, and then they'll have, you know, the actual buyer as a different category. And now this is the buyer that moved forward and give us the offer that we were interested in. Woo!
All right.
Answered all the questions. Oh, Lee coming in.
Damn it, Lee.
Yes, you can, Lee. Inside of our transaction side, we absolutely do have a separate side just for transactions notes. Your acquisition side's notes will show up here, and your transactions notes will show up in the top, and it only shows up when this deal is moved to under contract. Boom.
Boom. All right. Well, listen, barring any sudden popping up, but we're coming to the end now, folks. I'm sure, obviously, John and the amazing team there are going to be available, as they always are, to answer any questions. Just to kind of close this out, let's, John, just make sure everybody knows exactly, you know, how they can find you. What are the options for signing up? Let's close out with what's the next, since it's an action-based system, let's do an action-based webinar, which is, what is their next action if they would like to follow up?
Absolutely. So InvestorFuse.com is our website. And you can go there to learn more. Booking a demo takes you right to a Calendly link for Carlos. Carlos has worked with me since the very beginning. Literally, I think I was employed in February or November as a co-founder. He came in February. So he's been here for a long time, knows real estate investing. He did real estate investing himself. Get on a call with him. You'll love him. He can show you anything about the system, answer any of your questions about life, real estate investing, and most importantly, InvestorFuse. So have a chat with Carlos. If you want to see pricing, it's all in the pricing, and that's also where we break down all the kind of different features that we have for the different pricing plans. But this has been great. Thanks for having me on, guys. And Lee says in the question and answer that Carlos is a great guy. I couldn't agree with you more. Carlos is phenomenal, so you'll enjoy chatting with him.
And a perfect way to end, Carlos.
Yeah.
Make sure Carlos watches the end of the webinar so he can get his feel goods for the day on this. Well, anyway, yes. First of all, let me thank everybody who joined us for the webinar today, for coming in and asking great questions. Of course, thanks to my great team for setting this up and for coming in to make sure that I'm not saying anything particularly stupid. They feed me information sometimes when so I don't look as silly as I can. But also a massive thank you to John for joining us today and showing us around and showing us why InvestorFuse is so great for real estate investors.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been great, and I hope to see you all inside InvestorFuse and smartphone. It'd be phenomenal.
Thanks, everybody.
Right.